Seeing your pet thrive on a species-appropriate raw diet is very rewarding, especially if you formulated it yourself. However, as with anything, there are also some downsides to being a raw feeder. Many times, it can often feel hard, confusing, and even isolating. If you're a raw feeder, maybe you've gone through some of these things I'm about to go over too. You must remember, though, that you're not alone when feeling these feelings. I've gone through it all myself. One downside to being a raw feeder is that you suddenly feel that every little issue your pet has is your fault. My dog is suddenly itchy. Does this mean I'm feeding him something he's allergic to? I'm suddenly noticing my cat's going in and out of the litter box more than usual today. Is he getting a UTI because the diet isn't acidic enough? My ferret is slightly less playful this morning. Could he have a nutrient deficiency? It's like we're now so hyper aware of every little blip in our pet's behavior that we often stress ourselves out for no reason. A few years ago, I noticed Tangy was licking his genital area throughout the day, and I suddenly had it in my mind that he was in the beginning stages of a urinary tract infection. I silently panicked and went out and bought urine test strips. To my surprise, which seems pretty obvious now, he was just grooming himself. While working at the veterinary hospital, I've met some pretty paranoid owners, and many times I'm just thinking in my head, really? But then of course I become one the second it has to do with my own pets. Just like us humans, animals get sick from time to time. Cut yourself some slack and try your best to think critically about the situation so you can not only help your pet's physical health, but also your mental health. Another downside to being a raw feeder is that it's not as easy to just find a vet now. Many conventional vets are against the raw diet, while others admit they don't know enough about it to give advice. Seeking out a holistic vet may be a better option, but they aren't always easy to find, and are often much more expensive. When we lived in upstate New York, I was very fortunate to have an amazing ferret vet who applauded me for feeding raw, but with others, I wasn't so lucky. When we moved back to Florida, I started my first veterinary clinic job, and the vets I worked with were pretty opinionated about the raw diet. They warned me many times about things I knew were common misconceptions, but I didn't feel like I had the authority to correct them. I felt isolated and not fully heard or taken seriously. It's the veterinarian's duty to advise owners on what to do to keep their pets healthy and happy, and with every vet I've worked with, I can confirm that this was their true intent. But the lines become blurry when it comes to the optimal diet for pets. My advice is to meet a few vets in your area and see which ones feel right for you. Show them your commitment to providing all essential nutrients, as well as how you keep the environment sanitary and safe. You and your vet's relationship is important, so don't let their initial feelings discourage you. The feeling of being judged or misunderstood brings me to another downfall, which is feeling the need to diagnose your pet yourself. Let's say you feed your pet dry food and they happen to have a bout of diarrhea. You take them in and your vet gives you a few reasons why this may be happening, usually never thinking twice about the food unless you recently switched brands. Now, let's say you bring your pet in for the same diarrhea issue and the vet finds out they eat a raw diet. In many cases, they will point the blame on the diet straight away, even after knowing the pet's been on the diet well before the problem started. Some vets will of course consider other factors, but I've had countless owners message me frustrated that their vet blamed their pet's problem on their diet. I've gotten other messages from worried owners begging for help to figure out their pet's issue because they were too afraid their vet would just tell them to stop feeding raw. Veterinarians should really be aware of this because it's not a good thing for anyone in this situation, especially the pet. Owners shouldn't be afraid to seek help from their vet, and vets need to work with their clients even if they don't fully agree with what they're feeding. Sometimes something in the diet may be the culprit, and instead of blaming the entire diet as a whole, hopefully your vet can look at all angles. This is another situation where you need to lay out exactly what you're feeding, in what amounts, and why you're feeding each food in the diet so your vet can get a better idea on what you're doing. Your vet should be there to help you. I don't want this video to leave a bad taste in your mouth when it comes to veterinarians. While I do believe they were taught about nutrition from a biased perspective, I also believe that most vets genuinely want your pet to be healthy and happy. Watch these videos for a more in-depth look on veterinarians and their view on the raw diet.